Welcome to the Respectfully Great podcast. I'm your host, Johnny Reed, and today we have a wonderful episode scheduled. I'm super pumped. I'm super ecstatic. Today we are actually going on our 61st episode. I think that deserves a round of applause. Don't you think so? I think so. Let's do it. Yeah. Yes, yes. hmm Today, our podcast is sponsored by one of the sponsors, Respectfully Great. Shout out to Respectfully Great. Ideally, today, our podcast is really, really going to be very, very important. Today, it's important because we are talking about the topic at hand, which is called trauma. Do anybody identify what the word trauma is? Have anybody experienced trauma? Do you know what trauma looks like? Um, or you have no clue. We're going to unpack those layers of trauma today. It's very, very important because this is one name or one title or one definition that plagues on our communities and our environments and our homes, outside of our homes, things that we see pretty much daily. There's so much trauma. There's things that's promoted on the television screen. There's things that pop up on our own screens when we're looking and scrolling through our chats and scrolling through our social media platforms. There's things that we are witnessing right in front of us. Today I don't want to jump too much down the rabbit hole, but I end up seeing the gentleman, no pun intended, but the gentleman that got assaulted by some law enforcement guys out here in Brooklyn. And then when I've seen him, he's walking cane, etc. The first thing that came to my mind was trauma. And I said, you know what? Today is one of those days where you get those signs through conversations that I've had. We talked about trauma. I've seen the gentleman today walking with a cane, reminded me of trauma. I've seen a wounded bird today as well. Made me think about trauma. So many things around me was just speaking to me, radiating the word trauma. And I think it's very, very important that today's topic is geared around it, because I think there's so much that we can learn. There's so much that we can really come to grips with, but more or less heal from. Today is very, very important in that context, because there's so many things that plague on our communities and our environments and in our homes that we still need some clarity on. We still need some healing on. More importantly, we need some help on. Shout out to Kirk Nugent, one of my coaches, and he has said that the other day. Initially, he said that one thing that we have to learn to start doing is start asking for help and utilizing the help that's around us. And that made me think about me. How much do I just take on the chin, in the sense of, I got this, I don't need no help. Somebody unwilling to help and assist in the area where I feel I need the help or want, I'm like, you know what, I got it. And I say to myself, well, how can I ever be the best version of myself if I don't utilize the people, places, and things that's willing to help and serve, or get rid of the things, or be more self-sufficient? Or how do I just get the help all around the board? It may be help mentally, it may be help spiritually, it may be help physically, it may be help with someone else's words of wisdom, it may be a place of healing where I can have my voice heard. So many things go into it, because I'm a person that has a lot of pride at times. And I say, I'm a prideful person. I feel like I can take the world on, and started to realize that in this world that we are living in, there's so many things that plague on us for various reasons. Some things are unbeknownst to us. We can deal with post-traumatic things that we have experienced since childhood trauma, that actually leading up into our adulthood. And now we are adult bodied individuals with childlike mindsets. And I think these are the things that we really, really need to unpack today, because it's important. I know our communities need it. I know we need it. I know I need it. And this is one of the main reasons why I find topics during the course of my day, and I see what's going on with the people in my communities. And I'm watching on social media, and all of those signs come to me to where it says, you know what, today, this week, this day, this time, this is what we need to be talking about. And I think that having this open forum, having this conversation with us and our environments, I think is going to serve us um, for the better, because now we can get understanding on what these things look like. Sometimes there are hidden signs unbeknownst to us, and we have no clue, but we're experiencing it and we acting it out. And our lives aren't getting any better, but we are coping with it, right? So we find ways, because we are resilient. We are human beings that are very, very resilient. So we can adapt very, very quickly. So now, whatever the conditions are, we can adapt to that condition. Whatever the environment calls for, we can pretty much fit right in. whatever our mind is telling us, we can find ways to suppress those thoughts and those feelings. And this is a day that I feel like we have to actually um, expound on it. We have to have the conversation around it. We have to carry dialogue. We have to speak from our truths, because ideally it may be our truth, and somebody across the water may have a different truth. And then there is the truth. There's many sides of how we see the world, and I think that is important because we think it's a cookie cutter situation where one size fits all. It is in most cases is not really like that. I think we can learn from one another from how we see it, how we see the world, our perspectives, our experiences. I think all of this as a collective can serve us because it reflects data and it shows data. And then with this data, we can do a lot of analyzing. We can say, you know what, this right here doesn't apply. Or I've seen this in a movie at one point in time or another, and that doesn't really make sense to me or my or who I am and my family and my roots and what I'm connected to or where I want to go and who I am today. That might have been an experience that you experienced when you were a child. But then now we become adults and we say, you know what, that right there doesn't serve me. That story doesn't serve me. I'm so vulnerable in that situation because of these type of stereotypical things that's going on in the world. And I feel like, you know what, how do I get more closely connected to who I am at core? That takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of strength. More importantly, it may take a lot of help from other people and other personnel, because we may need to work up that level of confidence to say, you know what, I can finally look myself in the mirror and then now make the necessary adjustments to make sure that I'm doing the things today that will serve me for a better tomorrow. So today is going to be an episode geared around trauma. I know that was a lot to unpack in a very few moments. I know that was a lot to unpack, but ideally, I want to set the premise and I want to be able to set the tone to let everybody know that we are in this together as a collective. We're here with one another, and we're going to make sure that we do our part and do our due diligence and make sure that we are showing up the best version today so we can be a better version tomorrow. And then we can learn from each other. Each one teach one. So ideally, that is the mindset, that is the premise. And I know we're going to hit this thing home. We're going to knock this one out the park. We're going to identify what trauma. We're going to show the ills. We're going to show the pitfalls. We're going to show how we can actually get remedy from this situation. So I thank you guys in real time for being here with us, and I know that we're going to do our due diligence today in unwrapping this pitfall, this pit hole, or this word, or this this word that's kind of um drowning our communities and our mindsets when it comes to our mental, physical, and our spiritual. I think this right here puts a lot of caps and a lot of limits on our abilities, because mentally we are drawn out, physically we feel the pain, spiritually we are disconnected. So now we got to keep realigning and put ourselves back together in a way to where we can be the best version of ourselves. Man, if you with me today, man, just give a round of applause. Give yourself a round of applause, man, because you guys show up in a way that's unimaginable, man. And I commend you for that. Let's do that. Yeah, let's do that. Absolutely. Yes. I'm feeling pumped, man. We doing some new things as well, man. As you see, man, switching up some things, introducing some new things, new tech stuff. We've been having a lot of technical difficulties in the past, and I think I'd be remiss if I don't mention it, that we are making the adjustments, and we're going to continuously figure things out. It's going to be a journey because we are on it together. This is something that's happening now, but we see the future. We see the future, so that's why we come and we attempt and we do. We are doers. Like we talked about this the other day. There are people that talk about what they're going to do. There are people that just envision and just see what's going on. There are people that actually take action, action doers, action takers, action doers, right? But you know what makes you very dynamic and diabolical in ways that makes you the greatest that you can be is not when you only see it from one perspective. You're able to say, you know what, I'm actually going to talk about what I'm going to do. I see it, I possess the vision, and I also have the willingness to go out there and have application and do the work. So I think we have all three. You have the vision, you have the voice, you speaking this into the ether and the ethos. Now you say, okay, after me speaking about this and I see what's going on, I'm actually going out in the world, I'm going to tackle this. with action. I think those things as a combination together can work very, very well and suit you in ways unimaginable. So that's what we're going to kick this thing off with today. Overall, hope you are doing well out there. Let it be known in the chat how you feel today. Let me know your thoughts, your perspectives, even after the pod is over. I would love to hear your your I love to hear comments. I love to hear your opinions. I love to hear your truths. I love to hear your disagreements. I love to hear just your perspective, ideally, because it gives us context on where we need to go, where we need to improve, what we need to study more of, what we need to stay away from, and we keep exploring. We are globe trekkers. We said this the other day on our other episode, talking about coordinates, right? Finding those coordinates. When you're a globe trekker and when you're a goal trekker, that means that you set your mind on a particular thing and you're going out there and you're going to tackle it. When we talk about our health and our wellness, and we talk about how we want to be better versions of ourselves, it's going to take work. We're going to need some navigation. And the navigation, sometimes we go out there and we just walking without a purpose, and we don't have that compass with us. Those are some of the tools that we need to utilize. And us thinking about trauma today, and we talking about this, what we've seen on TV, scrolling, etc. When we hear the word trauma, that means that we need some help around this. We need some help around this. We need some tools that can help us, overcome and actually get through and identify and then see what's going on and how we could come back and help once we get the healing. I think these are a combination of things that will allow us to do such when we say, you know what, hey, I can take a stance. I can go out in the world and I can make a difference. And I think that's what it's about. Every day you have an opportunity to make a difference. We look at things from different perspectives. You could say that the cup is half empty. You could be a pessimistic person, be pessimistic. And you say, you know what, the cup is half empty, man. Things are just not working out to my favor, or I just can't figure out how to do X, Y, and Z. You get the frustration kicking in, and then we get the doubt kicking in, and then we start questioning ourselves and start questioning our abilities. Meanwhile, if we have that optimistic perspective and we say, you know what, the cup is half full, there's things I can go out there and accomplish because I know I'm great. I know I'm great. I know that I'm a work in progress. I know that I'm working out of perfection, even if there are flaws and things around me. These are the breeding grounds to get perfection. Although things may not be right and exact in the moment, it's our obligation to be able to refine those things, be able to go and repurpose and figure things out and analyze and then reevaluate and then make pivots. It's a combination of things that we have to do daily in order to make sure that we're on the right path or we directionally right. Meaning that although we haven't hit the target as of yet, but we're going in the right direction because we see the signs. We are calculating our steps. We are walking. We 1, 2. We are pacing. We making sure that we have all of our tools with us. We got our water and our backpacks. We have our navigational tools. We have our compass. We go in the world. We have our map. And sometimes there may be a piece of the map that's cut off. And then now from that point, it may cause some little innovation. It may cause some belief. It may cause some faith, some trust. Sometimes you have to rely on that gut instinct. You have to rely on nature. What does nature? How does nature operate? This is where we start to get really in tune with who we are, where we are, and really be grounded in purpose. See, a lot of times we can have purpose, right? And we don't work the purpose. We think that okay, we have innate ability, God given talent, right? But we are unwilling to do the work. What they say about hard work beats talent. They said hard work beats talent when the talent doesn't work hard. One more time. Hard work beats talent when the talent doesn't work hard. What does that mean? That means that this game, this race in life, the only competition that you are really in is oneself. But we always look to the left, we look to the right, and we say, you know what, I could be better than that person, he or she. But it's the person that's willing to do the work that always going to win, even if the person possesses the talent. Because the thing is that if you are unwilling to settle and you say, you know what, I'm not going to settle, I'm not going to go to the bottom because anything that settles drops to the bottom. I'm not going to settle. I'm going to rise, float to the top. How I'm going to do that? I'm going to put the work in. I'm going to be vulnerable at times so I can be able to let in, right? A lot of times we build up these walls because we've already been hurt. We already been under some situations where it caused us to feel some level of trauma and pain. So now we build up this wall and we say, I'm not going to let anybody in. And then when you do that, now you have, okay, you have a wall to tear down first. in order to reintroduce another wall to build back up. And that wall is not to block off people. That wall is a wall of alliances. It's a wall that you say, you know what, I can go over here and I can build with this person, this personnel, this environment, this thing, this mindset. Now we need to build up a different type of wall, a connecting wall, a wall that extends its hands and arms to go in there and reach and be able to do and accomplish more. These are the things that we got to be really, really mindful of that we can accomplish. We can accomplish, but we first have to put that trust in oneself, which we can do, which we can do. I know we can do it. We have no choice unless we just want to be able to be stagnant in our purpose. But I feel that if we do if we be stagnant in purpose, we do a disservice to everybody that came before us. You do a disservice to oneself, right? You do a disservice to oneself. There's so many things that you can accomplish. There's so many thoughts that run past your mind that you say, well, only if I could do, only if I, but what if you turn that only if to when I do this, what's going to happen? When you said that vision, you have that vision. You say, okay, what does that look like when you are healed mentally, physically, spiritually? What does the best version of you look like? Have we written these things down? Have we analyzed it? Or we just in the moment say, you know what, I'm just take it day by day. I'm gonna take it day by day. Sometimes that motion is great, but then how are we gonna plan for the future and to be the best if we just winging everything? So I just wanted to get real familiar, right? I'm not gonna just say comfortable because we all know that in order to get that growth that we're looking for, we have to be uncomfortable. But I want you to get familiar with just difficult tasks and tall tasks. But also I want you to get familiar with help, allowing yourself to be helped. Because a lot of times we cut off that opportunity for extended arms and hands and locking arms together and being in unison because we don't let nobody in. And we want to be able to change that because we need all the help that we can get from oneself, from other people, places, things, environments, things that serve us. Sometimes the help may come from things that we can identify and say, that is bad for me. But we won't be able to distinguish between the two if we don't get really in tune with who we are, with oneself, looking ourselves in the mirror and getting really, really familiar with who we are. Man, let's go, let's go, let's go. I'm pumped today. I'm excited. I'm very, very excited. Before we jump right into it, let me just set the tone really, really quick, right? Some people are not difficult. They are injured emotionally in places nobody ever checked. Mm. Some people laugh loudly because silence reminds them of what hurt them. Some people avoid commitment because trust became dangerous. Some people overwork because rest feels unsafe. Some people explode emotionally because they were never taught regulation. Some people numb themselves because feeling everything became unbearable. Trauma doesn't always scream. Trauma doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers through behavior. Ooh, this is good. Ooh, this is good. We going somewhere today, loved ones. We going somewhere today, loved ones. How about I do this really quick? How about I bring up trauma? How about we read this definition of trauma, right? Trauma. A negative emotional and or psychological response to a traumatic event. Let me set that. Let me let that rest there for a second. A negative emotional and or psychological response to a traumatic event, trauma. What is traumatic? Can anybody identify what does trauma look like? Variations, many variations of trauma. Trauma can look like, how about an injury, right? You out there playing a sport or you walking, you know, bumped into a fence, hit a knee, trauma. You know, shout out to my sister-in-law. Um, we always talk about some of the things when it comes to average day-to-day things that can bring up trauma. And something simply as being behind the wheel of a car can cause trauma. You had a traumatic accident. you had a traumatic experience on um, the football field or the basketball court. You had a traumatic event when you seen a pet get injured or whatever it may be, or you may be just walking down the street and for some reason you build up to a level of um anxiety or things around you, doors feel like they're closing or whatever it may feel like. It could be the average things going on daily, the average things that's going on to make you feel some level of trauma, some level of emotional and or psychological response to a traumatic thing. This is what trauma looks like. So oftentimes we should say, trauma has to come just from past experiences of such and such, but it could look like you witnessing something. Not even you actually feeling it or going through it. You can witness something else happening and it could cause you trauma. Or you could be the personnel that actually experienced the thing that causes trauma. We can have abuse. Abuse is traumatic. Abuse is traumatic. We can have emotional trauma. Emotionally, something, triggered something else that brought us some level of trauma. We can have some mental trauma, things going on upstairs in your mental, going on up there in your cerebellum, going on up there in your mind, in your brain. Some things like that can be traumatic. So many variations of trauma. This is why we brought this up on the screen. See, life have funny ways of exposing us to things, whether we ready or we not ready. And as a disclaimer, when I say funny, it's not to be laughed at. When I mean it, I mean it, and using just being hypothetical in approach, right? Just being hypothetical, but also meaning it with seriousness of saying that there are things that's happening daily that can cause us to have underlying or develop underlying trauma. We talk about abuse, right? There was a show and there was an episode that I was watching um a while back, and it was with a young boy that was getting abused, right? Well, there's many things, right? So I've seen this all over. I read the book A Child Called It. Um, the guy, I forgot the guy's name, but I remember he was getting abused severely, severely, very, very badly. It went to the extent of this young child being locked inside of a bathroom, feces, piles of feces. His mother made the boy drink bleach. Horrible, horrific things. Something like that can cause trauma. Something like that can cause trauma. And the will of that young man, for him to make it through that, being able to share and tell his story, took an immense amount of strength. An immense amount of strength. I can't imagine how many people's lives he has saved by just sharing his experience. What I want us to be reminded of is that we all have stories that can save another life. We all have stories that would give someone else strength by us being strong. So today is one of those episodes where we want to expound about your story, your path, how much you can help by healing, by taking your experience and making it through it, sharing it, and let it be known that it's possible to see the other side of it. It's going to take work though. It's going to take willpower. It's going to take strength. It's going to take being vulnerable. It's going to have to endure some mental things, some physical things, and the child called it case, um, physically abused, told to drink bleach. You know what that does to the insides? Can't even imagine. There was another show that I was watching on one of these platforms. I can't really recall. I know it might have been Netflix, might have been YouTube, somewhere. And it was this young kid, right? And I think he was in California, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere, California, Texas, somewhere. And the way this young child um was able to, get through, he was uh put inside of a dog cage for days, um, closets, starved. So many things when we think about children, just think about people of the resilience and how much strength you find within people to make it through. There was another girl, and I don't want to just make this. I want to give context, right? So I know sometimes these conversations can be very, very difficult just to listen to and hear. But I want to give um I want to give us just an understanding on how important it is for us when we see signs of neglect, hurt, pain, trauma. We all have a due diligence to make sure that we have an impact in a positive way to make sure that that situation get remedied. We can't turn blind cheeks to everything. Most people say stay out of this person's business, stay out of that person's business. But where do you draw the line when there's people involved that are getting hurt? So we just sit back and watch. Do we mind our business? I'm a firm believer that we do everything in our power to make sure that we help. End of the story. But I was watching another little girl get abused physically, and this one really broke my heart too. Little girl had her ribs broke, she had her wrist broke, black eyes, etc. And the girl had to be no more than 3, 4 years old, tops. And um the mother was abusing her. And her aunt is actually went in and was able to get custody of her. And the mother had many other children, I think like 3, 4 other children. Don't know the status of them being abused. I know that the aunt ended up getting custody of a few of her children, but they said the mother was mentally disturbed and she was just off her rocker, but she was abusing her children. And that one girl in particular, they showed when she was in the hospital and bones broken, wrists, etc., ribs. And when he was in the hospital, the aunt was there and she all bandaged up, etc. And the little girl was still able to put a smile on her face and smile, even though with broken wrists, black eyes, etc. That little girl innocence and her strength was still allowed her to smile in those moments of despair and and pretty much undergoing some of the worst conditions of trauma that you have seen. So I say to myself, our community need these conversations. We need the outlets. We need to recognize these signs of what they look like. If we are the ones that experiencing them firsthand, secondhand, third hand, witnessing it on these media platforms. There's so many things that we can identify what these things look like, but a lot of times they whisper, they silent because somebody had told them that if they spoke up, the consequences may be more severe. If you spoke up, they may go the extra mile to make sure that you may no longer be here. So how do we protect one another? It starts in our communities. It starts in our homes. Well, what happens if the abuse is taking place at home? People that love you enough that's outside of the home need to recognize the signs. Recognize the signs. Well, what do the signs look like? We need to be trained by it. We need to have these conversations to identify, okay, well, what does neglect look like? It can look like starvation. It can look like isolation. It can look like abandonment. It can look like a combination of things. Educating ourselves in human behavior with the way people act. Why is this person acting like this? He, she, them, they, at this various time. Why is this person erratic? It's a sign. What is it speaking to? It's for us to say, okay, if that person doesn't have enough to help themselves, we have to step in and do the helping as well. Aid, assist, contact, do what we can. There's so many battles that are being fought daily. Our own battles are being fought daily. And there's so many things that we need to equip ourselves with in order to go out there and fight that long fight. But it's possible because we see the survival of some of these victims in that circumstance. They no longer the victim, they the victor, the victorious, triumph, victory. They have won. They survived. They survived. And this makes me think about all of the things that we go through on a daily basis that we may consider um, counting ourselves out. We need to build safe havens, ecosystems with one another. So now that we can communicate on levels to make sure that, okay, well, when we see signs, how do we respond to them? How do we respond to some of these signs that shows abuse, neglect, trauma? What do we do in these circumstances? It starts with oneself. Everything starts with oneself. And then after that, like Kirk said, we need the assistance of other people. We need the help. We can't be too cool for school, not ask for help or turn blind cheeks because we don't want to get involved. It's everybody's responsibility when you're dealing with humanity. It's everybody's responsibility when they're dealing with humanity. There's something that popped up on my feed today, and I've seen it. It was a guy that ended up going to prison, and I don't know. Uh, I don't know if what was his profession, but I think he was doing like on an 18-year bid of sexually assaulting um, a minor, a child, and then his act crossed the path of another inmate that ended up taking his life out of his 18-year bid. I don't know how long he was into his time. I think he was almost ready to get out, but it crossed the path of another personnel to where his life ended up being taken. So that made me think about the responsibility. Now, do I say go to that extent, right? Discretionary. I'm not promoting. I'm not saying. The thing is that there's so many things that happen when it comes to um, what we consider maybe justice. Society has its own rules about justice, but how do we govern and make sure that our communities are safe if we don't take a stance? Because I think it's a due diligence, not just for the authorities or the police or whoever. I think all of those responsibilities come from the community. So we see something that needs attention and need fixing. The right-minded individuals got to say, you know what, let's take a stance and let's fix that. How do we fix that? We come up with our own rules and structure to make sure that we have a safe place for our children to roam, elderly to roam, just the average Joe, male or female. Make sure the people in the community are protected. But it takes the stance of an individual like yourself to say, you know what, today is where it stops. For that other individual, for him, he said that person took advantage of another person now, and I don't want to see this person do that to another person now. So he took, matters into his own hands. How he took retribution, discretionary. But all I'm saying is that together as a community, as a home, as a household, as an environment, we have to work together and figure out, okay, what are the solutions to these problems? Who do we contact? How prompt are the people that can make sure that these people are off the streets that's taking advantage, that's abusing? All these things are stemming from trauma. Why did that person commit that act in itself? Why did that person take advantage of that person? We've seen that, okay, there's a pattern of things. That person might have been taken advantage of in his or her life. So now they felt like, okay, since I was taken advantage of, I need someone else to feel the same level of pain or hurt, abandonment, abuse, trauma. Let's jump into this. Trauma is not only what happened to you, it is what also repeatedly happened inside of you because of it. A person can survive physically, but still be emotionally imprisoned. Some people go through things And that situation follows them emotionally throughout the rest of their lives. There are reasons why people do what they do. Everybody has a reason on why they do what they do. But sometimes it could be a cover up. It could be PTSD. It could be, okay, since I was abused and I physically was able to get past and through that, emotionally, I didn't find the right healing yet. I didn't find the right therapist. I didn't find the right community, the right environment, the right person to talk to, my therapist. I didn't find the right people that could hear my story and actually help and aid me. Or I just kept it to myself and I don't want nobody else to see, because I don't want them to think I got chinks in my armor. I don't want them to feel like I can be taken advantage of again. So I'm gonna go over. I'm a go above and beyond. I'm gonna overprotect to compensate for, you know, me really being scared or emotionally distraught and not finding that fine balance of working on the healing. So I suffer in silence. I stay quiet to oneself. I'm not going to address this issue. I'm gonna make sure that I put on a facade. I walk around and make things feel as if nothing is wrong. Everything is always good. Everything is perfectly fine at all times. These are some of the signs where there's nothing causing some level of disturbance in your life. It don't have to be extreme, but there's nothing bothering you. Not saying that we seeking and we want to bring in problems, but we know life has its own obstacles. So you never face with any obstacle, nothing challenging. How can that be? Not saying that we won't be able to rise to the occasion and be bigger than the problem, but somebody that never encountered any issues in their life in their livelihood, I just find it kind of odd. Or somebody that, uh, put themselves out there as untouchable. We know people go through things, defense mechanisms. What does those things look like? Why do we need to poke the chest out? Because we feel there's something inside of us or internally that we're afraid of. Insecurity, some level. So we're trying to protect or cover up us from being insecure in certain areas or being abused to the point where we feel like, you know what, I refuse for this to happen again. So I will overcompensate in certain areas to make sure that this won't happen again. But sometimes we do a disservice to oneself because now we extending ourselves above and beyond when it only takes some working, some therapy, some communication, other solutions other than drowning our pain and some vices, whatever that vice may be. Or instead of, not exerting ourselves in areas, we just feel sheltered and isolated. So we avoid anything that's dealing with confrontation or just opinions. So now this is where we go to the people pleasing thing. Now we don't have an opinion. We just agree with everybody, Mr. Agreeable, Mr. or Mrs. She Agreeable. So now we don't have a voice because we silenced ours. How do we get through these things? How do we address them? How do we make the environment safe enough for us to say, you know what, man, I'm suffering. I'm going through some things. Do we possess the patience enough to make sure that we can heal, that we can hear, or we can feel the empathy for another person? Or are we numb? We say, I'm so removed from anybody else's issues and what's going on in their world. I'm only focused on mine, self-centered, being very, very cynical. We know the first law of nature is self-preservation, preserving self, but then they don't tell you the next steps of unifying, working as a community, working together. But if we go through the world and say there's me, mine, I don't care about nobody, disservice, because we got to be able to pay that forward somehow. We pay it forward by making sure that our awareness is up. We have certain levels of empathy so we can care for another person that actually want to help. Because overall, what you may do is that you may help that person that eventually help their children, that help their loved ones. because the things that they go through may affect their whole lineage. The things that one person may go through may affect their whole lineage if they don't get the proper healing. And this is why I emphasize us coming together in that manner. This is why I emphasize that, because I know together we can all figure out, okay, solutions to these problems. We can figure out solutions to these problems. Types of trauma, many types of trauma. You got neglect, you got abandonment, unstable households, lack of affection, constant criticism, witnessing violence, parentification. Parentification. That's when the child has to uh, um, take on the adult role. Have you seen it where you see a kid raising a kid, 12-year old have to look after 2, 3 other siblings as if they are the adult because of maybe not the authority, the proper authorities in the home, the proper guardian isn't in the home for whatever reason, or they may be in a home and there's abuse taking place. Combination of things to where the kid has to actually grow up earlier than he or she has to, because life put them in that position to say, you know what, if you don't grow up today, the survival of you, your siblings, etc., may be at stake. We've seen these things. Emotional trauma. Emotional trauma. You have manipulation, gaslighting, betrayal, rejection, humiliation, feeling unseen or unheard, feeling like you're just a fly on the wall. Under the direction of manipulation, being manipulated, being humiliated, being humiliated. You know, that falls into the line of things like bullying. We see these things in school where kids may be embarrassed for whatever reason because we have other children that chooses to pick on that child. So now we dealing with humiliation that can still carry over into adulthood, being humiliated. That one experience causes trauma for the rest of that person's life until they come to grips and say, you know what, I can overcome this. Now I got the help, I got the direction, I got the tools necessary that would allow me to move past this. But I know there's work that has to be done, and I'm willing to, allow myself to be helped. A lot of times we put up these walls that doesn't allow us to be helped. This is what these things look like. All different forms of variations of trauma. We're talking about childhood trauma, emotional trauma. What about verbal abuse? Somebody getting cussed out. The other day, I'm walking in the streets and I seen his mother. And oh no, this is a great one because I seen that in the streets too. But there was a great one. I seen two. There was one in the streets where a mother was cussing her daughter out. Something terrible. The girl had to be maybe, I say, 7, 8 years old, walking home, clearly coming home from school. The young girl had a book bag on. The mother cursing out, "You better do as I effing say," blah 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 blah, just verbally abusing her. And I'm saying to myself, the level of communication is like non-existent. So when I say to myself, I'm like, well, that child, when there are things that's going on in their life, for whatever reason, they're gonna feel like, okay, using vulgar language, vulgarity, in order to communicate a message, instead of finding the right words to say, okay, maybe I'm frustrated at the moment, or maybe I'm going through something. How can I replace my frustration with the right words to make sure that I can communicate in the right manner? That child won't know the difference. That child will think that in order to communicate, they got to use that type of language because they seen it in the home. Before I jump about the other girl that I've seen, Jim Rome said that when he used to go to prison tours, and he said when he used to go inside of these prisons, he noticed that at the time when he was around, he was doing his workshops, etc. He said that he noticed that a lot of the inmates that were in there at the time had a limited vocabulary. And he said what that equated to was not being able to put the proper words behind how they felt. So emotionally, when men, women, etc., will feel in a particular way, instead of being able to say, "Hey, I'm upset today," or "I'm going through something at the moment," or whatever it may be, instead of finding the right word to put to the emotion, they became reactionary. They became reactionary. So what that caused them to do, that caused them to act out how they felt. What happens when you take a person that is frustrated, upset, mad, or angry for whatever reason, and they can't say, right now I'm frustrated, or I'm angry, I'm upset, and they can't say that, you start to get the, oh, you start to get the acting out. And then what led them to be inside of that prison was because the responses is, well, not taking a response, but not being able to respond, but being reactionary and not being able to have the vocabulary in order to put the right words to the emotion to express how they felt. So he said that's one of the things he noticed while he was doing his workshops in the prison system. Going back to the other girl that I seen on social media, I think my sister sent me this, right? If I'm not mistaken, and it was a mother, and she was putting on the daughter was on the bed, and the daughter was she was due to put on the sneakers, right? So the mother ended up taking like some clothes and threw the clothes in front of the girl, in front of her daughter. So the little girl looked and said, "Ma, why you do that? Ma, why you throw that? Are you mad at something? Why you throw that?" And the little girl repeatedly kept asking her mother, why did she throw the clothing? She said, "Ma, are you upset? Are you mad?" And I just thought that the awareness of that little girl and just being boisterous and being able to voice how she felt and felt confident enough to say, "Hey, what's going on here? Whatever's going on just ain't right." I think to myself, how many children that that want to ask or question what's going on in that moment when it causes confusion don't have that voice, because every time they open up their mouth, they got knocked upside their head or something. That little girl felt very, very confident enough to say, "Yo, hey, something right here isn't right. And Ma, I don't know what's going on with you, but you clearly throwing things around here, and I need to know what's going on." I give that girl so much credit. And I know there's so much reassurance of who she is. And she have a sense of identity very, very early on in her livelihood. And I'm like, this is something profound that I learned just watching that scenario unfold, because I look at it from the context of saying sometimes we do things and we unaware who's watching. There's somebody always watching. And the messaging that we want to leave and resonate with our children in the future, right? Or the children of the future. And we say we want to have the best impact on them, but we do some things that may be questionable, that would jeopardize what the legacy we're trying to leave behind and teach, because we caught up in our own things emotionally in the moment. All of these things can cause contributions to whether that person be impacted in the right manner or impacted for the better, right? Are we showing up the best version of ourselves in front of that person to leave an everlasting imprint on them for the best that they can possibly witness coming from another personnel? So we missed that opportunity because we chose to be caught up in our own emotions in the moment, and we was reactionary. So we throwing things, we cussing out, we being, going crazy out there. And we don't understand that the harm that we are causing our communities, even in our households, when we don't find the right way to try to heal from the trauma or the things that are frustrating us. We just keep continuously passing this down the line, down the line, down the line, down the line until, the levee breaks one day. And then we start seeing things, you know, snap, and you jeopardize yourself, you jeopardize another personnel. That can lead to more severe things. Something that small can grow. It starts as an avalanche, first a snowball being thrown. And before you know it, as it steams and it picks up speed down the hill, before you know it, it's an avalanche. Now you got this big old, you know, pile of issues and problems that's beyond you in the moment to actually, you know, stop and put a lid on and actually remedy. There's a lot of things that we undergo that I want us to be aware of. I want to bring something up really quick. Stress. We talk about stress, right? There's a combination of things that we can do in the moments of stress, just like the daughter when she witnessed the mother throw the clothing. What about the other daughter that's walking in the streets and her mother was just cussing her out left and right? All of this because there's stress that's apparent. There's stress that's readily just apparent in the moment, right? You can fight. This is what people do. We talked about Jim Rome when there's people in prison. So, fighting. Can't speak how I feel. I'm going to fight my way out of it. Other people say, you know what? Hey, I'm taking flight to deuces. I'm getting out of here. So they running away. Instead of dealing with the stress, I'm running away. Flight. The other personnel may freeze, causing a shutdown, being stuck, or fawn. This is when we do the people pleasing thing. The people pleasing thing. Yes to everything. No, no, no. Somebody say no is no. Somebody else say yes is yes. Ideally, though, you may oppose that. You may have a difference of opinion or truth, but you going along to get along. The cookie cutter, the microwavable mindset. These are different variations of stress responses. And I think it's very, very important in our communities to understand, well, what do these things look like? Under what conditions should we do such? Is there appropriate time to do any of them? When is the appropriate time or not? Right? If somebody, physically hurting you, you got to find a way to diffuse that. So it may cause you to, you know, get some level of restraint or get some level of resistance. They say, hey, we're not doing this right now. Sometimes a flight causes a flight response. Hey, this thing is bigger than me in the moment. You may got 5, 6 guys trying to jump on your neck. I gotta get out of here. Flight response. Freeze. I've seen this before. I've seen when there was a jogger on a trail on a path, and he encountered, if I'm not mistaken, a bobcat, mountain lion, or something. And the mountain lion was charging for a second, but causes the personnel to freeze. Like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? I don't know what's going on in this moment. Causes the person to freeze, and then the next one, the peace, right? Please, fawn. This is when we do the people pleasing thing, right? Or knowing when to assess what. You know what? You got it. You got it. You got it. You got it. Absolutely, you got it. Or hey, you know what? Nah, time out. You're wrong in this. You're wrong in this instance, right? I mean, I'm giving the opposing perspective, but I'm saying if you're going to agree or disagree, you can use that at your own discretion. Saying, okay, when is the appropriate time to use such, right? Okay, the conversation is trying to prove a point to be right. Sometimes it ain't worth the argument for another personnel to be right, because we know time, place, circumstance, all these things are factors to where two things can be right at the same time. So is it worth trying to fight that fight or the right to be right? Sometimes it doesn't even make sense. Let's go to physical trauma, violence, assault, domestic abuse, bullying, unsafe environments. We see violence all the time. I told you the other day I just went past. Actually, it was today. Was it today? Today? Today, yeah, this morning. I seen the gentleman, the guy that situation happened to him in the liquor store. I seen him today, walking, had his cane, had a book bag, black book bag on, had a hat on, walking with his cane. It made me think about violence. Violence. How often are we seeing, they say, quote unquote, we at, you know, we at odds with other personnel, other entities, other communities, other people, other races. Right now, he says, quote unquote, war going on outside. So it's like, well, wow, how did we get how did we get there? What transpired to cause, the war to begin? Why wasn't that being able to be diffused? Where were the solutions to that problem? Like B. Simone said, what was put on the table for it could be an option to say, you know what, we don't need to go down this route. Did anybody say, hey, I have a proposal. Maybe we shouldn't do this like this because we have casualties. And we don't want people being unalived in this fashion or in this manner. But if you don't care about humanity, if you don't have empathy, where does that lead us? So we need more people to care and actually take a stance and do more of the righteous things. We have mental trauma. We're talking about the mind. You're in constant fear, intimidation, controlling relationships, chronic anxiety producing environments, exposure to instability, environmental trauma. Sirens were normal. Woo, 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 woo. Police call, cop call. Sirens are normal. Arguments were daily. People in the streets arguing back and forth. Poverty. Seeing poverty causes some level of stress, trauma. Safety was uncertain. Making sure, hey, can I get to and from safely? Do I need to carry a weapon? Do I need to? How is your safety? Is this environment safe? Even though we know anything can happen anywhere, but primarily, you see something that may look like danger. Do you walk right through it, or you say, you know what? Let me just cross the street, go over here, because it ain't worth me put myself in harm's way. That may be some people circumstance every day. Just because they're in that type of environment, the doggy dog environment, doggy dog environment. We talked about the trauma responses: fight, flight, freeze, fawn. We talked about those effects of trauma. Some of the effects of trauma: low self-esteem, low self-esteem, self-sabotage, anxiety, depression, identity confusion, feeling like you're an imposter, addiction, vices, difficulty trusting yourself. You can't trust yourself. You're not going to be able to trust others. You're not going to be able to trust others. Social effects: toxic relationships, isolation, fear of vulnerability, difficulty communicating, seeking validation, and attachment issues. Feeling super attached. Mm. We want to talk about healing. Before we get to the healing, we have to take a quick commercial break because I think it's only right. We'll be right back shortly. Peace, beloveds. Thank you for tuning in to the Respectfully Great podcast. I'm your host, Johnny Reed, and I appreciate your continuous support. Do you know that over 80% of the people that watch our channel aren't subscribed? By subscribing to our channel, you give us the opportunity to bring on more guests to add more value to our channel. To join our growing community, head over to respectfullygreat.com, sign up for our email list to get exclusive updates on empowering blogs, as well as the latest and greatest in Respectfully Great fashion. Once again, it's nothing but big love, and we value your commitment. That was powerful right there, loved ones. Go shop at respectfullygreat.com and get your latest and greatest. Actually, we got some of that respectfully great merch on. Can you see that? Oh, let's come here like this. Do you see that? Respectfully great. Good guys over there. You heard? Respectfully great right there, man. Respectfullygreat.com. It's very, very important that we understand us being respected and great. We have to lead with respect in order to get it. And our brand embodies that, from the clothing, from the mindset, from our premise, our goals, our mindset. Everything is encompassed in being respected and being purposeful and being great within it. So we're going to continuously highlight that. We want to be able to put on garments. We want to have the mindset. We want to be able to walk in a path and in purpose of being respected and be great within it. So respectfully great, that's what we're speaking from. We're speaking from in that context. When we're talking about respectfully great, the brand, it's a positivity motion, um, growth and development motion, high level empathy motion, care for your neighbor, love your neighbor as you would love yourself type of motion. So that's what we pushing continuously in order to elevate purpose and make sure that we staying within purpose. And that's one of those rubrics, one of those guidelines that we just follow, and we embody, and we put that into our psyche to make sure that we execute that and we act that out daily, making sure that we respect for oneself and respect for others, and we're going to continuously be great in purpose because we're doing things daily in order to promote that and excite that, that stimuli in our minds and our brains to continuously move forward in that level, in that fashion. So we thank you guys for being tapped in. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, do all those good things as well. Sign up for those email lists, and do the thing, do the thing. We're going to um, get back to healing and overcoming the trauma, healing and overcoming the trauma. See, trauma shows up like this sometimes, right? When we have trauma, that means that something is going on up here, causing a lot of confusion. And now it's time to figure out ways that we can heal, right? Sometimes there are things, it could be um, different healing modalities, right? We talked about therapy. We talked about getting in the right environments. Sometimes it may be um, some level of medication, right? If you have an underlying condition, people take medicines, right? It could be holistic, whatever form of medicine that you choose to take, but there are things that help remedy some of the pain that we experience from some of this trauma. It could be physical trauma. And there's certain things, I'm not saying you go to automatic suppressants and finding ways just to, break yourself down, but there's certain things that are needed for personnel in order to cope and get through day to day. They have a medication for everything. You dealing with anxiety, you dealing with depression, you dealing with fear, you dealing with some type of addiction, you dealing with so many, like it's a plethora of things that you can be prescribed to use in order to create some level of remedy for your conditions. And I'm a personnel that I had many injuries, right? And I received medications for various things. Hey, I got something that's on my foot, something on my arm, got an ointment, got some topical thing, some type of cream, whatever it may be, in order to figure out, okay, why my body's under this stress, my mind, physical abuse, whatever it may be. There are things that we can do in order to start the process of healing. And this is the main reason why just want to highlight medicine. There are different forms of medicine. It doesn't have to just come in a pill form. It could be meditation, finding ways to ease the mind. It could be massages. It could be going out into the park. It could be riding a bike. It could be reading a book. There's many forms of healing modalities that we can utilize in order to get the proper healing within our communities. And I think it's important that we explore them, right? We explore them. and we have those things to pick from. And the more and more that we make these things prevalent within our communities, and we open up our awareness to offer this another step or remedy, then I think we can get to a closer place to where we healing humanity, right? From within and then going outwardly. We can find ways to figure out, okay, what can I do? Or what has worked for me? Let me share my thoughts and my perspectives on what I figured out that, can help me heal. I was watching I forgot the girl name, but she was talking about tobacco, right? And she was wearing, is it the tobacco itself or the nicotine? One of the two. The tobacco itself. So long story short, her mother had arthritis in her arm or her wrist or something. So I don't know where she had went to where she figured out this information. Oh, I forgot where she got the information from, so don't quote me on it. Long story short, there were people that were always, I think it was it in Europe? If I'm not mistaken, I think Europe or somewhere. Yeah, I think it was Europe. So they were talking about how a large portion of the population um smokes. And with that being said, they were talking about how the levels of um arthritis and stuff were down. I think it's like the lowest, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on it, but if I can remember correctly, in that area, in that country, arthritis is the lowest out of all other places on the planet. And they said, "Well, how is this? Why is this?" And he said, "A lot of people smoke." And he said, the tobacco, something that's in the tobacco, right? Something that's in the tobacco, um, help heal the arthritis, right? So the lady heard this, whatever. So she says that she had went to her mother and she heard this situation and she gave her mother a nicotine patch, if I'm not mistaken. Right? Is it tobacco? Don't quote me on which one it was because I can't really recall. Is it nicotine or the tobacco itself? But she ended up giving her mother the nicotine patch, putting on her mother arthritis, and she said her mother said within like 30 minutes, her wrist immediately felt better. So the lady said that she went along and for she wear nicotine patches for to help her arthritis because she said that um she has such bad her immune system was so bad. She said so her immune system was so bad that like even at night, a common she'll go to bed and the temperature's off in the house, whatever, slightly cooler or hotter, she'll wake up full blown out, cold, immune system all shot. And she said since she's been wearing the nicotine patch, I know it said how it something with her for her mother it worked for arthritis, and for her did something to help her immune system. Now, remind you, this is not just as a disclaimer, I'm only taking the story from the personnel and is due to further research. So what I'm just saying is that there are many things in the world that we may not be aware of that can cause remedy and can cause healing. And I found that one to be very, very intriguing to me because a lot of times we write some of these things off um, as of solely being bad, whatever. And we don't know that everything that we see when it comes to medicines, etc., it all come from the herb, it all come from the plant, right? So a lot of times they put it up, mash it up, put it in pill form, added preservatives and all whatever else they got to put inside of those capsules. And normally those are the harmful effects when they read off that commercial, nausea, indigestion, blah 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 blah. Have a long list of things just to get the one thing that's really due to there for you to heal from, right? So I just thought that was a fun fact, but not a fun fact. I thought it was just some fun information that I've seen from this other personnel. And it just made me think about there are things that you can intake that can work for one reason and then also have an adverse effect in another way, depending on how you use it, when you use it, depending on the person's immune system, etc. So there's a plethora of things out there when it comes to healing, that is not one size fits all. It could be many things that could work for many different people. And what I encourage is that we could just continuously share our experiences, share our stories, and we can start to explore more. So now that makes me want to do further research about the tobacco and the nicotine to see, well, where are these studies coming from? How accurate are they? What type of people, what type of, it makes me just want to do further research because I know people that have arthritis, right? They told me I had arthritis and portion of some of the trauma from my neck or whatever. So there's a plethora of things that they say that, may work and may not work. And I just thought that was um something interesting. Let's talk about awareness. You cannot heal what you refuse to acknowledge. We got to acknowledge it first. We have to be aware. We have to say, okay, I know what this is. I acknowledge that there's an issue here and I'm willing to fix that. But it first comes with acknowledgement, right? Healing starts when you stop pretending certain things didn't affect you. We can't pretend no more. We can't pretend no more. If things are going on in our lives and it's causing us to really be under duress, we have to acknowledge that and say, you know what? This is the problem right here. Now it's time to heal and fix. That's what that looks like. Rebuilding safety. Um, That's what we have to do. We build safety through emotional safety, boundary setting. Got to set boundaries. Boundaries are very, very important. Safe environments, making sure that we relocate. And sometimes that's what we need to relocate. Choosing healthier relationships, meaning that the way you communicate with your friends, your peers, your loved ones, your co-workers, your business partners, all of these things, we need to have healthier relationships with these people, personnel, right? Learning regulation, right? Knowing how to regulate, learning how to regulate, knowing when to do things in moderation, be excessive, be assertive, when to fall back. All of these things need to be regulatory. You have to figure out, okay, when do I apply what at what time? You have to be aware of these things. Let's get to some of the last practical healing methods. We named a few. How about simply journaling, writing down how you feel, keeping that journal? How important it is to write down your thoughts, your feelings, and emotions. How about we can go and reflect and look back on those things and say, well, how was I feeling today? What did I eat? What did my day look like? So now we can spot the patterns where we may be, going down a path of things that may trigger us. But if we don't know, we just taking it day by day. We don't have no data to analyze. Then we just winging it day by day, trying to recall the time where when was that time when I felt like this, or when the time when I felt like that. But if you have that jotted down, January 10th, such and such, at this time, I woke up, this is how I felt, this is what I ate, this is what my day looked like, the way I went to, this is ba 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 ba. That's your data. That's your data. That would allow you that would give you so much more insight about how your day went. Simply what you ate, what you have done, who you talked to, who you communicated with, and then you might start seeing patterns within that. Hey, when I communicated with that person, my day went bad. Hey, when I communicated with that person, my day went bad. Hey, when I communicated with that person, my day went bad. Oh, when I ate that, I felt great. This day right here, when I ate that, I felt great. Man, when I took, when I did this and I X, Y, and Z and I took that coconut water, man, I felt great. Felt energized, felt rejuvenated, felt hydrated. We can start seeing the patterns. Very, very important. Therapy, we talked about that. Fitness, being able to go to the gyms, exercise, walking, whatever it may be. Some type of, fitness activity. It could be walking. It could be, standing in place, stomping in place. It could be, simply, I see a lot of people in the park, right? A lot of elderly people just doing a lot of stretching, a lot of, hands in the air, arm rotations. I see a lot of that stuff. I commend them for that. It's very, very important. Health, fitness, that drives that. Um, breath work and meditation, I think is the most important from what I'm being exposed to now. Um, breath work, breathing, and meditation has to be the number one on my list of one of the healing modalities. Be able to release stress, being able to regulate that that breathing and being able to get that, regulated, and being able to really understand that breath work and that meditation is very, very important. I know it's very, very important for me. Primarily, maybe for me, maybe my number one on my list. I think it is number one for me on my list. Accountability in circles. Accountability circles where you held accountable. So you do a thing, and if it ain't the right thing, somebody tap you on the shoulder. You know he's out of pocket with that one right there, right? You know he's out of pocket, my brother and my sister. He's out of pocket with that. How can we make that right? Hey, you didn't listen. You left that on the middle. You got to pick that up. Hey, you turned the blind cheek. You seen such and such over there. Got to pick that up. I can't throw garbage in the middle of the street when they got garbage cans all around, because it shows I don't care for my environment. It means that I'm going to make somebody else's job harder, destroy the ecosystem, destroy the environment, the same place that we live in, destroying the ozone. Bad idea. Bad idea. Learning the emotional language, replacing survival habits, overeating, substance abuse, isolation, escapism, overworking, toxic relationships. We talked about those things. Here's a great perspective that we can embody. Just to be aware. You can survive something and still deserve healing from it. You can survive something and still deserve healing from it. Give yourself permission to heal. Give yourself permission to heal. You're going to end on this, right? Trauma may explain your behavior. Trauma may explain your behavior, but it does not have to become your permanent identity. But it does not have to become your permanent identity. That's what trauma does. It may explain why you act or do what you do, but we don't have to embody that persona for the rest of our lives. We don't have to embody that persona for the rest of our lives. You are not only the pain you experienced, you are also the wisdom that you gain, the healing that you pursued, the boundaries that you had created, and the life that you decided to rebuild. Mm, 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 mm. Some scars become lessons. Some wounds become warnings. Some pain becomes purpose. Healing is not weakness. Healing is courage. Healing is courage. Man, I tell you, it's something when you able to be open and honest. There's no reassurance and opportunity and room for growth like it when you're able to look oneself in the mirror and say, you know what? I acknowledge that there are things going on in my life at this very moment. I'm very aware. I see. I know. But not only do I see and I know, I'm ready to change that for the better. When you decide, when you make a choice, when you decide that you want better for oneself, it comes with a level of courage. It comes with a level of wisdom. It comes with a level of knowing that tomorrow I'm seeking a better outcome for my future. And I'm willing to take the necessary steps to make that something that can be accomplished. I commend each and every individual that's willing to look themselves in the mirror and just say, you know what, I take a stance today. I take a stance. regardless of the criticism, regardless of the abuse, regardless of the trauma, all of these things that are meant in some people cases to hold them back. You looking at these things as tools to say, you know what, this is every reason for me to move forward. Where I come from, what I've experienced, what I've seen, what I saw, it gives me all of the permission to want to move forward with my life. And we could turn that troubling situation into one of victory and triumph. Man, today has been a powerful, powerful build. Our 61st episode. I love you guys unconditionally. Um, Help, healing. If you can offer something, sound, I would love to hear it. Put it in the chat. Let us know. If you know places where people can, be safe, explore, can start the journey of healing, please let it be known at the bottom of the chat. If you are experiencing it with oneself, understand that you have a community of people that's willing to help and assist to make sure that you get the help and the healing that you need in order to overcome. Because we care, we love you enough. We have high levels of empathy to put ourselves in those shoes and be able to say, you know what, I've gone through it, I've seen this is what I've been through. And I know you have a long journey and a long battle ahead of you, but I'm willing to take that step with you. I'm willing to make sure that you get the help necessary because we all need each other. We all need to be accountable for the work that we put in to make sure that we can get the healing that we need. Because we understand that if you are undergoing some troubling things, that can be trickled down through your lineage, through your environment, through your communication, whoever you have communication with, your relationships. All of these things can be trickled down through these mediums. And I want us to be aware of it. And I want us to know that today's the start. Today's the start. Today's the start. You can feel free to reach out to me. Feel free to journal. Feel free to go to therapy. Feel free to get environments, get in spaces or places where it's communities of people that care enough. Like Gary Vee said, get around people that love you enough to tell you the truth. Get in places and spaces that provide that truth. Accept oneself. Give yourself permission to change for the better. And it can be done because we've seen it. I've seen many examples. We talked about it today from men to women to children, being able to be resilient, being able to have appreciation, being able to say, you know what, I'm willing to move forward. Although I know it may be a tall task, but I'm in it. I'm in it for the long haul. I commend you for those perspectives, loved ones. I commend your willingness to help another, to help yourself. If there's anything that I said as a disclaimer, understand that my intentions wasn't to hurt, it's to actually help and heal. So if there's things that may transpire today that rubbed or made anybody feel some particular way, understand it wasn't out of hurt. It wasn't out of trying to hurt. It's actually from a perspective of trying to help and heal. We all go through it. We all have things that we experience. But I want us to really understand that we can make a change. We can make a change. And then we can be more on purpose. And we can have those fulfilled lives the way we want to experience it. We have those fulfilled lives in a way, in the manner that we want to experience it. Today was good. Today was good. I thank you guys for being able to provide the time. I thank you just being here in existence because it matters. It matters. You matter. Don't ever let nobody else tell you different. You matter. You matter. If you got to say your affirmations daily to reaffirm it, do that. Tell yourself that you love you. Build that relationship with the creator. Build that relationship with that internal self, that you. Build that relationship. I love you guys. More importantly, love yourself more. And we will be back at it. I say next week because we always do it every week. Every Thursday, you will see us live on the other social media platforms. So we'll tap in. This episode is dropping Tuesday. So Tuesday's new date for all of the podcasts. All of our podcast episodes will be dropping on Tuesdays, right? This is episode. This will be dropping on Tuesday. So let's tap in. Let's get right. And Thursdays, we still be going live every Thursday at 7 p.m. on our social media platforms. The Real Johnny Reed on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Respectfully Rated on YouTube. Everywhere you can catch us, we'll be there. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave your comments, thumb up the videos so we'll be able to push out that algorithm. And I will see you. Another video will be dropping on Tuesday, and I will see you on Thursday. I love you guys unconditionally. Remember, love yourself more. And see you soon. Respectfully.